Hi there, and welcome to the Mindful Marathon podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Quirk, a run coach and pediatrician. Mindful Marathon is all about helping runners of all types to run their own race. Whether you are a seasoned runner or you're just getting started, I want to let you know that you're welcome here and that you're in the right place. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a very special guest in the studio with me. I have Gerald Collins, who is the founder of Run Rev Coaching and host of Stronger Than the Struggle, a podcast where faith, mental wellness, and movement meet. He coaches adults who are carrying more than most fitness plans were built for, helping them find strength not in perfection, but in consistency and grace. Gerald's approach is deeply personal, rooted in his own journey from survival to purpose. So, Gerald, welcome to the show. I'm really excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so we met, I don't know, maybe a year-ish ago, I don't know, and
That
started,
sounds about right.
we're in the same coaching group. And I've gotten to know Gerald, and I'm just very excited to talk about this topic. Gerald, tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you here today.
As you said, my name is Gerald, and the Run Rev comes from the online moniker I took when I first started going online. Most people have an idiom name when you go online, and I was born in the early 70s. I'm an 80s kid to the core, love it. And some of you out there may recognize the nod. It was to a Run DMC icon, the infamous Run Rev from Run DMC. And when I went online, I was a runner, I was a reverend. So I did a little tongue-in-cheek nod and started calling myself Run Rev Collins. I came to running in 2012 after the loss of my mother. I had a very tragic loss. Probably should have known she was having some issues, but basically, she'd had breast cancer. She'd been diagnosed earlier, about 17 years earlier. Breast cancer came back. She was fighting it. She was going through chemotherapy. The first round, had extended all of her radiation treatments, and we were monitoring her tumor markers. They were going down. From a lot of ways, things were looking like they were making progress. However, that's not the truth. And as anyone, as I'm sure Michelle, and anyone that's spent any time in medicine knows, things don't go as scripted. Things can look good, and all of a sudden, in a moment, things change.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
myself, my day job is in healthcare. I spent almost 30 years working in a hospital laboratory. I see it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and even then, I knew then. But when I say it was tragic, it was quick. Cancer is one of the worst
Terrible.
things in the world. It has no respect of persons. It
No.
doesn't care how much you earn. It doesn't care how prestigious you are. It's going to affect you just the same. She went in, and less than a week later, she'd passed away. And it was a rocking event for me because my mother was one of my greatest supporters when I started preaching. My mother was the greatest supporter of me in life. She was my singing partner. Yeah, I had spent a large portion of my adult life dealing with dysthymia and depression. And so when that hit, I not only lost my mother, but I lost my singing partner. Music was what used to help me with my depression. It was one of the greatest things that assisted me. It uplifted my mood, but now music was just making me deeper into the spiral of depression because it
Yeah.
reminded me of what I'd lost. And so that went on, that entire black cloud of my life went on for about a year.
Mm.
And finally, my wife, who God bless her, she just gave me this ultimatum and said, "Honey, I love you, but you're miserable to be around." I was just being a jerk to our 5-year-old daughter. I was biting her head off on anything and everything. And she was absolutely right in giving that ultimatum because I was in a place that I couldn't continue. My entire life was existing. I wasn't living any longer. Everything about me just seemed in a blur. And so, on a whim, I still to this day don't remember why I chose to start running. What can I do? I think I'll train to run a 5K.
Yeah.
I never actually ran in my life. I was 39 years old. I never ran in high school, never ran in college. I was a flute player, so I was in the marching band. That was the extent of my physical education, if you will,
Yeah.
growing up. And so I just decided I would run a 5K. Never ran. And so I spent about 12 weeks learning to run. And in those 12 weeks, I found out how beneficial running is to changing your environment. Something I had planned to do as just a one-off, primarily just to show my wife I was willing to do something to make our marriage work. But in the process, I found joy again. I found purpose again. I found a community that I was missing. So much was opened up for me. And then as I continued on, because that one off ended up being a lifestyle, the very next fall, I ran my very first marathon, dedicated that to my mother. And that was just such an emotional time. And then I moved from that to the year after that, doing challenge, if you will. It was unofficial. I still to this day laugh. I biked 14 miles to the start line. I had ran the 5K the night before, biked 14 miles to the start line, ran a 60-minute 10K, then ran a half marathon, and then biked 9 miles back to meet my wife up for the day.
So
So,
basically, you did a really fancy duathlon, I think. Oh my gosh,
and I
Gerald.
laughed because that was actually my first half marathon as well. So
Wow, you got it all out the way like in one fell swoop. As you're talking about your mom and how you got into running, I feel like we have a similar story. I was just maybe 10 years younger than you were when all of this happened, but I lost my dad in 2012 to cancer, and that's really when I started running as well. And it was not so much that, but everything that was going on at work and just feeling lost. And running was, I don't know, it had a low barrier of entry. I had a pair of sneakers in the closet, and I'll just try that.
yeah.
And here we are.
And so along the way, I found lots of people. I
Yes.
found 80/20 endurance running and just a cascade of things that looked to be one-off events just went together. And then eventually I decided running's given me so much. I'm going to give back to running and I'm going to become a running coach.
Yeah.
When I first started it, it was, I'm just going to help people. And then after a while, I found through 80/20, one of those odd things. They invited Coach Michelle in from Coach Michelle Lakes, business
Hmm.
coach, wonderful woman. I decided that I was going to meet with her. I knew that she was what I needed to take this business to the next level. And I mention that because what she got me to look at was who I wanted to really serve.
Wow.
It's a
Yeah.
thing in business that you can't serve everyone. You
Yeah.
just can't, at least not as your main focus. Because if you try to serve everyone, you're going to give everyone a little diluted version. And I realized that the people I needed and wanted to help the most and the community that I understood the most was those who were using running or physical activity as a way to address the mental health issues. And
Mhm.
especially as a minister, it's something I'm very passionate about because I've noticed a lot, and graciously, it's improving. But a lot of times in the faith community, mental health is diminished. They have no problem going to the doctor for physical issues, but when it comes to mental health issues, they diminish that as something real or something that has value. And having lived it, I knew that was nonsense. I still
Mhm.
live by that. So the combination of working together, faith and mental health and physical activity was something that I didn't see a lot of people doing, but yet it was something that I really felt passionate about and knew that it had value. And a lot of times people are going through mental health issues, a standardized training plan, a standard coach who's just interested solely in PRs, just in getting you to your next race the fastest you could do. And I'm not diminishing those values. There's value in that. A lot of times for those who are dealing with mental health struggles, it's difficult just getting out the door, let alone trying to get in a certain amount of time. Or your plan says that you have to run 50 minutes today, but mentally you've only got enough capacity to do 30.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's why I failed.
Yeah.
You got 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
That's a success. I tell people all the time, and it's one of the things I'm very adamant about is if you can give yourself the full amount of what your capacity is for the day, whether that's a full 50 minutes or full 30 minutes, if you've only got capacity in your day for 30 minutes and you gave those 30 minutes, you succeeded. It doesn't really matter what's on the training plan. It matters that you gave what you have to give. Now, if you had that 50 minutes to give and you gave the 30, then you can have a discussion on why you shortchanged yourself.
Yeah.
But if you gave yourself what you had, you succeeded and you've done the best that you could with what you have to do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I realized was different about how I approach things and how I try to make people understand with the coaching process. And that's why I started the Stronger Than the Struggle podcast, was because it's a crossroads that not many people are dealing with. A lot of times people address the faith and the physical activity, or the mental health and the physical activity,
Mhm.
but one component of the three is missing. And I really try to help people bring the three together, because for a lot of people, that's their three main aspects of their life that they're
Mhm.
dealing with. And if you're only focusing on two, the third one is going to suffer and it's going to cause problems in the rest of your life.
Yeah, and one of the reasons, another shout out to Coach Michelle Lake here, one of the reasons I love her group is that it almost feels like, you know how there are so many different specialties in medicine? All of the coaches in there have different specialties. So we have
Yes.
run coaches and triathlon coaches and sports nutritionists and psychologists and all different things, but everybody has a different niche. And so I learned so much from what everyone else has done with their businesses to grow my little corner of the world over here. But we're all after the same thing, but we're going about it in different ways. And there's a run coach for everybody based on what your circumstances are, what phase of life you're in. And yeah, I love the group for that reason.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely adore it, because not only are they a coach for every season, but these coaches are more than willing to go, hey, you're not a great fit for me, but I know a coach over here that'd be perfect for you. Let me connect you to and see if you guys can work together. The whole program with Coach Michelle taught me to be a better coach. It's brought wonderful, amazing people in my life who encouraged me. And that kind of leads me to what Run Rev Coaching's word of the year is, which is community.
Oh,
Because I realized that when you are, I know I experienced this, and I realize other people probably experience the same thing. When you're dealing with mental health issues, your mind's intuitive thought process is to isolate. You don't want anyone to either see you, or you feel that people don't really understand what you're going through, that you just want to separate from other individuals, whether it be physical contact or it be online contact, you separate. And unfortunately, when you start doing that, it also becomes easier to stop doing the things that bring you healing, that bring you health. It's easier to stop being active. It's
yeah.
easier to stop doing the gratitude journals. It's easier in isolation to get worse. And so I started late last year community runs here in the local area. They're just designed to be accessible and open to anyone. Mine are different. A lot of times, run groups or community runs, they're all distance based. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going to get out, we're going to run 3 miles. And that, okay, that's great. But if you're just struggling to get together and you
Yeah.
get left alone, it's
Yeah.
so disconcerting to just be out there by yourself. I
Yeah.
had an experience like that. I
Hmm.
had an amazing community group that I loved the group. But when we went out for a group run, I was a slow runner. I
Yeah.
got left behind.
I've had
And
that experience too.
I still remember that my thought process the entire time was, I love the people here, but tell me why I couldn't have done this at home and then met you afterwards for coffee. Why did I come here if there's no one supporting me as part of this group run? There's no point
Yeah.
of being in a group if I'm running alone. So I've tried to make my group runs as much as possible. It's a smaller amount of people showing up. It's harder to do it, but I try to make it so that people could support each other and be there for each other as much as possible.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, yeah, I've gotten lost multiple times, so I try to make my routes as easy as possible. So exactly, and you said it, no one's left behind. And the other
Yeah.
difference is it's time based. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter whether you are a 6 minute runner per mile, or you're running 15 minutes per mile, or you're walking at 25 minutes per mile. It's designed so that you go out for 20 minutes, you come back 20 minutes, and everyone meets back up at the same place, so that you're starting the event with a small devotional. You've got a time-based event, so everyone is either together or is going to at least pass each other and see each other there and back. And then everyone should end right about the same time, so that afterwards you have a social event.
I wanted to go back to something you said earlier. You and I are both, I don't know how to say this. We've had some time, right, since we lost your mom and my
Yes.
dad, but I would say nobody would argue with this, I don't think, but grief is not really a linear process. And I find that sometimes I feel very fine and well adjusted, and then other times I really miss my dad and I'm just in the pile. And I haven't quite figured out why running has helped so much. I think part of it is for me time with myself and time to process some of those emotions. But can you talk a little bit about that? Why do you think running was so helpful for you? I know it was partly community.
A large portion of it is something that I didn't realize when I started, but I've since have found out. There is scientific data behind the fact that running releases chemical endorphins in the brain that help deal with those psychological issues. And it doesn't have to be running, just physical
Physical
activity
activity.
is such a powerful antidepressant that it's scientifically backed that just being active, it's a natural antidepressant.
It's
It really is. And it does the same thing with grief. It gives you, I think running gives you three things. One, it gives you that natural antidepressant medication. I don't
mhm.
think it always is a total elimination of need for
Yeah.
treatment, whether it be cognitive behavioral therapy or medication. I'm not one who believes that, oh, if I go running, I don't need to talk to the therapist. I don't need to take my medication. Not necessarily. You might be
Yeah.
able to reduce the dosage or you might be able to work through things quicker, but it's a treatment. It's not the treatment.
Yep.
And the other thing too is I think getting outside, whether it be for a 5 minute walk, a 10-minute walk, it gets you to get your focus off of the mindset of everything negative going on around
Mhm.
you. A lot of behavioral therapists recommend that you start using a gratitude journal because
Yeah.
when you start focusing in on positive things in your life, you look for gratitude, your brain naturally starts looking for the positive things. There's an
hmm
adage that I live by, and that is you find what you look for. And
Mm.
if you're constantly looking around you, looking at negative things in your life, your mind begins to focus in on those. Versus
Mhm.
if you can train yourself to start looking for even small positive things, your mind starts looking for more of those and you start seeing more of those. And that's one of the things that running does is it gets you outside of that loop of seeing all the negatives. And I'm not in way, shaping, or form saying that running is going to totally, that if you run, that you won't feel any grief. You're still going to feel
Yeah.
grief,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
helps give you a way to process it. The other thing is, I think running tends to allow you to find a community, to find you other people. It allows you to connect with other people so that you have something to focus on that helps you move on to the next phase of life. The best phrase someone ever gave me was, you never get over the person that you lost, you just learn to live without them.
Yeah.
And there's so much truth in that because you're never going to replace that hole because if you truly love them deeply, they leave a huge hole in your life. Hole that
hmm
is not just going to be quickly or neatly filled, a hole that you're just going to follow this exact path to healing. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
As you said, it's been almost 12, 14 years now for me. And there are still days that I just am almost in tears because I realize what I lost. But if you think about this, especially a parent, if you're lucky, you've spent 40 to 50 years with them, of someone who's
hmm
probably the most intimate person in your life, the person who knows you better than anyone else in your life. And then for most people, follow that up with a spouse or a child. A lot of times, people that we lose are some of the people who know us at our worst. They know our deepest secrets. They truly know us.
hmm
And they were the people that we could go to amongst anyone else that really wouldn't judge us. A parent, a spouse, and our children, they're usually the ones that we can tell them the deepest things because they already know it anyways, and they
Yeah.
don't judge us. And
Yeah.
so when we lose that, not only do we lose the connection with the person, but we lose someone who can help us process the emotions and the experiences of life. We lose
hmm
that person to share the highs with, to share the lows with. We lose that companionship. And
Yeah.
that's hard to replace because I don't care how good a friend is. I don't care how good someone in our, even our spouse, I don't care how good they are.
Yeah.
They've never known us like our parents, and the children will never know us like our spouses have. And
Right.
losing those people in our lives, we lose so much. And for me, running, it's something that helps you come through to the other end, but there's no magic pill. And
Yeah.
there's going to be days when you just don't have the mental capacity or the physical capacity to go out and run. And for a lot of plans and a lot of coaches, it's set in stone. You have to do this, you have to do that. And that's where I come in. I
It's
was
not
like,
going to work.
no,
Yeah.
I want to work with you. I want to find where you're at. It's okay that you have bad days. Those aren't excuses. Those are where you're at. That is your
Yeah.
capacity. We wouldn't. as a running coach and as human beings, we wouldn't tell someone who just started running a month ago, why aren't you going and running the London Marathon this weekend? But yet, when it comes to mental health and things of that nature, a lot of times we want to look at these people and go, they died 6 months ago. What's the problem? Just move on. Or
Yeah.
they've been gone for 10 years. What are you still crying about?
All of what you say is true. I think my parents were both public school teachers, and then my dad was a principal before he retired, but he was a wrestling coach when he was a
Yeah,
teacher, and I didn't know him then. I have an older sister, and she has memories of going to matches and things with him, but I never really knew him as a coach, but that is how he showed up for me, often
yeah,
in school and just always pep
yeah,
talks, especially in
yeah.
college, med school, right? I was always thinking I failed every test I ever took, and he was always the one being like, you tried your best, you did your best.
People, whether they're with us there for our entire life or they're with us for a moment in time, they never leave us unchanged. And the longer they're with us, the more they impact us, good or
Yeah,
bad. And unfortunately, for some people, their parents and the people in their lives have left a negative impression on their life.
yeah,
And I think that's even more tragic because not only are you grieving those individuals, the loss of the parent, you have to grieve the loss of what you thought the relationship would be like and grieve the hope that things were going to change. And
yeah,
I was very blessed in the fact that I had a wonderful relationship with my parents. I
yeah.
fully realized not
Same.
everyone is that way. And so
Yeah,
those that lose their parents that have had a difficult relationship, they're grieving a lot more than just the parent.
yeah.
They're grieving
And
relationships.
it's really complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel very grateful for that. If someone is listening right now and they are going through a difficult season, no matter what that might look like, what is one small way that running or movement could support them this week?
Small, amazing wins. Don't focus in on things you didn't do this week. Don't focus in on the to-dos that you didn't get done. No, focus in on and pay attention to what you did get done. And running can help in that because it doesn't have to be an all-out sprint. Running doesn't have to be heavy and hard. It can be something as a nice, light, easy run. It can be a conversation with friends. It can be a walk in the park with your neighbor. It can be a walk around the block. But if you've carved out time in your life, and that's one of the things I advocate for, if you want to have something happen, it needs to be on your calendar. Because if we just have a to-do list, but we don't have a schedule for anything, life will push it off the to-do list. The things in our life that we have value for, we prioritize and we put it on our calendar, not our to-do list, our calendar. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be 5 minutes. Focus in on giving yourself 5 minutes this week. Take 5 minutes, put it on your calendar each day, and advocate for 5 minutes for your day, whether that be going out for a walk, going out for a 5 minute run, or just spending 5 minutes in meditation or five
Hmm.
minutes just journaling what happened that was even remotely good that day.
Yeah,
But the point is, the win is carving out that time. Because as you begin to carve out that time, then a week or two, you can make that 10 minutes. And a week or two after that, you can make those 15 minutes. And they sound small. But if you
yeah.
think of it
It
this way,
adds up.
5 minutes over the course of a week is 35 minutes a week. That's over 350 minutes in just 10 weeks.
Yeah.
That's well over 3 hours. And that's 3 hours that you've dedicated to yourself. It's three
Hmm.
hours that you've dedicated to making a positive impact in your life. And it's something that I tell everyone. It's not about the big changes that's going to make improvements in your life. It's the small changes. And honestly, it works for running. The reality is, no matter what you want to or feel that you need to change in your life, it's not going to be done in making big, huge, massive changes. It's going to be done in making small, incremental changes that you can sustain because most of us can find 5 minutes in our day to ourselves. That doesn't
Hmm.
seem impossible. When you get that in, you're just adding 5 minutes and those slow
Yeah.
additions. And if you think of it this way, there's 52 weeks in a year. If you start off with just adding 5 minutes a day and you do that, you just add an extra 5 minutes every 2 weeks, that is 13 times you've increased throughout the year. So by the end of the year, you are well on your way to having over an hour a day for self-help. And you've only made it by 5 minute increments every 2 weeks.
I love how
So
you
by the
think.
it doesn't have to be every day. As
Yeah.
you go along, you can just make it 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But you've made small changes to where your schedule And your body's going, oh, that's not that big of a deal. I'm just adding 5 more minutes. But you've made the small progressions and you've figured out a way to change your schedule so that it fits in. And you've not made a major change. It's all about making sustainable changes that fit into your life. The other phrase I use is the training should fit into your life, not your life into the training.
Yep. 100%. And that's the same way. I think that's why I stuck with running. When I look back, I had tried to run multiple times in the past, but I would try to just go as far and as fast as I could and then end up hating it. And so when I finally really stuck with it, I did. I started with 5 minutes around the block, and then I went
Yeah,
a couple times a week and I increased very slowly and adding those small incremental changes. It took a while, but it has been a regular part of my life since then, and that's a long
yeah,
time.
exactly.
So, yeah, it was worth the small changes, but I think what we're trying to say is that it's simple stuff, but it takes some thought and some intention to be able to do it. But if you do it, you will reap the benefits for a long time.
As the old proverb goes, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And a lot of times people, they want the big step. They Here in America, we're the worst for it. We want the
Yeah.
quick fix. We don't want to have to do anything long term. We want to be able to go do something for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and all of a sudden we've lost 500 pounds, or we want the quick fixes.
Yes.
And unfortunately, in life, most of the things that we can sustain, they're not flashy and they're not quick. They just require dedication
Yeah.
to a consistency of showing up, not a perfection, a consistency. And that
Yeah.
consistency may not be big. And a lot of times I'm only doing 5 minutes or I'm only doing this. Two
Mhm.
things. Get rid of the word only and get rid of the word just.
Yes.
Because you are doing 5 minutes. You're not only doing 5 minutes, you are
Yes.
giving yourself 5 minutes. You are walking around the block. I didn't just walk today. You walked today.
Yes, we're going to eliminate only and just from our vocabulary. Gerald, tell everybody where they can find you.
Sure. I'm based in the Dayton, Cincinnati, Ohio area, southwestern Ohio. And the easiest way to find me is either on my website at www.runrevcoaching.com, or you can find me on Instagram at runrevcoach Gerald.
Got it. And I'll leave it in the show notes.
And I probably should mention the podcasts are currently being
Oh, yeah.
released at 6 p.m. every other Tuesday. And I know it's an odd time. I know most people use it in the morning, but for a lot of people that are dealing with grief and depression, what are you doing? You're getting home from work and you're either scrolling social medias to zone out for a little bit, or you're turning to your podcast. And so I intentionally release it in the evening to meet those people where they're at. And you're getting off work, you're looking for something to listen to, and that's where it is.
Oh, I love that, Gerald. That's a great idea. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and for sharing so candidly all about your journey. I know it will help a lot of people, and it was very helpful for me to talk to you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for listening. We will see you next week. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend. And if you have a moment, please rate and review the podcast so that we can reach and encourage others to tie on their sneakers and join us out there on a run. See you next time.